His wife had died 14 years ago. He thought about women constantly, but he never dared to approach one. He was too old for the young ones, and he didn't like the older ones. He watched girls from a distance, careful not to be noticed. And if one happened to catch his eye on the street or on the train, he'd quickly look away. He tried not to stare at the ones who looked younger than 15, even though he knew nobody ever got arrested just for looking and that he wasn't really hurting anyone. The desire for a woman to visit him, whether during the Advent or Christmas season, never left him. He knew that no one would actually come to his house, but he enjoyed playing with the thought that it might happen. Miracles sometimes do occur. Even though he wasn't yet eligible for retirement, he hadn't worked in 2 years. He was let go from the editorial staff of the Prague 7 Town Hall newsletter, which he used to write entirely himself, due to redundancy after she started working there, the one who was rumored to be having an affair with the deputy mayor, a married man. Vlastimil decided he would somehow bridge those few years until retirement. He used to fear being alone. He thought Christmas would be the worst. Then the first one came, and he got through it without pills, just a bottle of wine and a shot of aperitif. The others went the same way. He forbade himself from crying at dinner, just as he forbade himself from watching television. It wasn't hard to keep to it. He mostly listened to recorded carols, ceremoniously dissected fried carp or another fish, and helped himself to the salad he liked acidic. Then he would go look under the tree to see if baby Jesus had left him a gift. There was always a package there for him. He liked the ones wrapped in red paper the most. When electricity prices increased, the gifts became less extravagant. But then came the pension increase of a full 354 crowns, and he discovered new DVDs under the tree. Clint Eastwood was his favorite, but he also appreciated a can of Wilkinson's Sword shaving cream or a bottle of 7-Star Metaxa brandy. This time, he got up earlier because he hadn't yet done the cleaning. He looked out the window, and it seemed like he could barely see through the glass. And yet, he could at least see a nice day. Not a trace of snow, and it didn't even look like it would be sleeting. He drew the curtains. He wasn't interested in what was outside right now. He had to focus on cleaning and then preparing everything for Christmas Eve, so he wouldn't embarrass himself in front of himself. He ate breakfast and then spent a good 2 hours tidying up the apartment. It's awful how dusty it gets here, in this hollow. They probably don't know anything about that up in Petriny. Then he grabbed his hat and scarf, especially that warm jacket from the nice Vietnamese girl at the wholesaler's market. How long ago did he buy it? 3 years, or was it 5 already? But it's still like new. He stepped outside to find the sun shining. Global warming, he thought. Completely ruining the Christmas spirit. It used to be so nice to have snow in Strassmayer Square. He picked up a few last-minute items at the grocery store, like lemons, oranges, and walnuts. Sighing at the crowds, he quickly headed back home. He flipped a coin to decide whether to decorate the tree or make the salad first. Inevitably, he got the less appealing option. Salad it was, as usual. He was always amazed that it didn't come up 50/50ths, as mathematical probability would suggest. The tree salad split was more like 30/70ths. Vlastimil never got over this. Even the well-known phenomenon of toast always landing butter side down didn't bother him, because at least that had an explanation. The buttered side was heavier, so it was naturally going to face down when it fell. He boiled the potatoes, let them cool, and in the meantime, chopped the pickles, onion, and pre-cooked carrots. Once everything was mixed with mayonnaise, he added the canned peas, but only at the end, so they wouldn't get smashed while mixing. He put the salad in the fridge and went to decorate the tree. He hauled a few boxes out of the storage closet, pulling the tree from the long one. He didn't mind that it was Chinese-made. It was practically indistinguishable from a real one and more environmentally friendly. After all, how many times had he assembled and disassembled it? Not a single spruce in the Bohemian forest had fallen because of Vlastimil. After wedging the trunk into the stand and spreading out the branches, he opened a box covered in gift wrap and carefully took out the Christmas ornaments. All new Bohemian glass. None of that cheap plastic from wherever in China they make that stuff. These were hand-blown, hand-painted glass ornaments from the Czech Republic. If he couldn't have a real tree, at least he could have real ornaments. He was particular about that. In the fragile, shiny bulbs, especially the red ones, he examined the distorted reflection of his face, a nose like a cucumber, small yet bulging eyes, a forehead that seemed to recede all the way to the window. Carefully, he hung the ornaments, remembering his childhood and the fights he'd have with his older sister over the prettiest ones. Colorful birds, a rainbow house, a fuzzy chimney sweep, a white angel, and a pink pig. And how they broke a glass jester in the process and got spanked. His father would put on the gold star, but only after all the ornaments were hung and the candles were precariously perched in their holders. Newspapers had to be spread underneath to protect the rug from dripping wax. Vlastimil didn't have a star. It was his rebellion against his long-dead father. Instead, he put a bulbous spire, like a tall cathedral tower, on top of a tree. When he'd finished decorating, he'd been especially meticulous this year. It was afternoon and time for a short walk. It still felt like a thaw outside. He put on a raincoat over his shirt. He plopped a flat cap on his head and, just in case, grabbed an umbrella. Before stepping out into the hallway, he lingered with his ear to the door, listening to see if anyone was coming up the stairs or getting into the elevator. He didn't want to run into anyone, especially not on Christmas, but it was quiet. So he opened the door, slipped out, and locked up. He glanced around carefully before leaving the house and headed towards St. Anthony's Church. He didn't look at the people, but he did check out the bulletin board. As usual, there was nothing special posted for midnight Massachusetts. But he hardly ever went to midnight mass anymore anyway. Ever since he'd seen people drinking plum brandy, bringing dogs inside, and letting unruly kids run wild in the church, he'd wanted to go less and less at Christmas. He walked around the church, sat on a bench in the small park, marveled at the green grass and the lively birdsong, and then hurried past the power company building and through the underpass to the embankment, and then back across the crosswalk. But the cars were making an unbearable racket, and he couldn't wait to get home. As he fumbled for his keys in his pocket at the entrance, someone addressed him. A woman, or rather still a girl. He glanced at her and said he wasn't interested in buying anything. No magazines or music or whatever she was selling, and she could keep her flyers too. Pretty, but that didn't matter. Probably some hick. She said she wasn't selling anything, that she'd been watching him for a while and could help him with something at home. Do the dishes or something. Without looking at her, he tapped his forehead, slipped through the door, and slammed it shut. Annoyed, he hurried up the stairs and then had to slow down and catch his breath. He didn't understand why he hadn't thought to call the elevator. In the kitchen, he checked off the list on the fridge to see if he had bought everything and didn't have to go back out. He'd given up on carp this year. He took a block of frozen cod, like 4 cubes of permafrost, out of the freezer, let it thaw, and went to choose a fairy tale. He only had Cinderella on VHS, but the player hadn't worked for years. He couldn't find it on DVD, and unfortunately, he couldn't even rely on one of the TV stations playing it every Christmas like they used to. But he had a backup plan on shiny little discs. Today it was Once Upon a Time There Was a King. It wasn't one of his favorites, but he felt it was a traditional part of Christmas and needed to be dusted off occasionally. Someone rang the doorbell just as Mariska was telling the king that she loved him like salt. He realized that he had been engrossed in the movie and hadn't even started the fish. And now someone was ringing. I'm not opening my eyes and going to sleep until tonight, he thought. When he opened the door, the girl he had met in front of the house that afternoon was standing there. She looked like an employee of some hospice. Would you like me to do some shopping for you? Thanks. I can manage that myself, he laughed. You know, I'll entrust you with my money. You'll stock up on cigarettes and cheap wine, and I'll never see you again. Then I'll clean up for you if you don't trust me. She continued to smile sympathetically. I have more order here than the president has in his head. And what about just chatting? You look terribly sad. He noticed that she had a crooked dimple in her left cheek when she smiled, but not in her right. She had asymmetrically cut hair, healthy teeth, and freckles around her nose. He liked that. He liked less that she had dry, slightly chapped lips, and he could smell cigarettes on her breath. Some acquaintance who gives a heads up to friends, and then they come to rob the apartment. You shouldn't read so much tabloid garbage. Well, I never. I read serious news. Actually, what's it to you what I read? You can lock the door and hide the keys so I don't run away, the girl insisted. You must need some help with something. Everyone does. I don't see what you could possibly help me with, especially at Christmas. He leaned against the wall, arms crossed over his chest. He noticed her green and white sweatshirt was nicely filled out in the chest area. Christmas, she repeated slowly, then added, that's exactly why there's so much stress. He looked her over for a moment longer, then stepped aside to let her pass. I'm not going to lock you in, got it? You can leave whenever you want so you don't say I bothered you. Do I look like an idiot or something? Well, we'll see. He motioned for her to go further into the apartment. The girl stopped in front of the glass display cases with souvenirs and antiques. Wow, you have it like a museum in here. Did you collect all this yourself? My wife did, but she's passed away now. I just dust it. It's all just junk. Don't say that. What about these little guys here? Those are Chinese or from Vietnam. No way. Those are old Chinese ivory figurines. You like them? They belong to my wife's parents. They're beautiful. I'd steal them from you in a heartbeat, she giggled. You'd have to break the glass first, and you couldn't do that. The panels are tempered. Look, he slapped the side of the case with his palm, making a loud thud and knocking a few figurines onto their backs, but the glass held. You've thought this through. She nodded appreciatively. What should I call you? Vlastimil. Just call me Vlastik. Okay. I'm Marie. What a coincidence, he said, pleased. I used to have a sister in Lysolage. Her name was Marie too, and we always called her Mary. She's passed away too. You loved her, didn't you? Of course. He fell into his memories, but only halfway. Marie wouldn't let him go any further. Is this the living room? She asked, already moving into it. Wow, you have a Christmas tree. Of course. He slowly followed her and tried to see his decorated living room through her eyes. The festively set table, green tablecloth, silver cutlery, plates with blue enamel around the rim, 2 ceramic candle holders, and in the corner, a Christmas tree adorned with ornaments and topped with a spire. I like to get everything ready ahead of time, you know, so I'm not so rushed in the evening. She was singing to herself, It's Christmas, it's Christmas, it's Christmas. A time when none of us has to be afraid. She looked back and forth between him and the tree and the table. She seemed to be hesitating, wondering if she should just run. So, it's Christmas Eve, she confirmed. Don't you celebrate Christmas? He asked, slightly surprised. She carefully moved to the other side of the table. If he started chasing her, she'd have the whole table as a head start. Are you expecting someone? She pointed to the 2 plates and 2 sets of cutlery. That's just how it's done, in case a guest comes, he smiled. On Christmas Eve, you have to show generosity. Can't leave it all up to Santa. Has anyone visited you yet? Not yet. And can I visit you, even if it's not Christmas? But it is Christmas. And you already did, so now sit down. I'll go prepare the fish. I'll help you. She followed him to the kitchen and did everything he told her to. She dried the cod so it wouldn't take long to fry, and the oil wouldn't splatter too much. She salted it, sprinkled it with lemon juice, and dried it again. Then she poured flour and breadcrumbs into deep dishes and whisked 2 eggs in a third. Finally, she coated the fish in the flour, then the egg, then the breadcrumbs, and he heated the oil in the pan. You're a natural at this, Vlastimil remarked, impressed. It's not a sloppy mess at all. I'm even going to fry it up. Don't worry. Is the salad ready? Of course. He took it out of the pantry and brought it to the table. Can I offer you something? He called from the living room. An aperitif? How about some Cinzano? I've been praying for you to pour me something for the last half hour. You haven't been here for half an hour, but it'll be right out. Vlastimil poured an aperitif, Garonne brand. He called it Cinzano, and she wouldn't know the difference anyway. It's Christmas, it's Christmas, it's Christmas. They ate dinner. The fish and salad were a success, but Vlastimil kept asking Marie if it was too sour, and then if it was too spicy. The girl just shook her head, her cheeks stuffed. If Vlastimil ate one serving, she devoured 3. Then she pushed her chair back from the table, discreetly touched her wrist, pulled up her sweatshirt a little, and flashed a sliver of her belly at Vlastimil. He refilled her red wine. They went to the tree. Marie had to lean on Vlastimil a little and take his elbow, but he took it as a sign that she wasn't drunk, just wanted to be close. Are you glad you wandered in here, especially on Christmas? She stroked his shaved cheek and tugged at the loose skin on his neck. I'd wander in here, even on May Day. You wouldn't get a present then. Vlastimil smiled conspiratorially, handing the surprised Marie a package in red paper with a green ribbon. For me, she whispered, and he nodded. And you don't have anything? You don't have anything? Just call me by my first name. You don't have to be so formal. Okay, Vlastimil, you. I don't need presents. But look, there is something here after all. He pulled a flattened bottle wrapped in crackling cellophane from under the tree. How did you know I was coming, Vlastimil? Marie looked dazed. She sat down next to him on the couch and rested her head on his shoulder. I always set a place for a guest, cook for 2, and have a gift ready. But no one has ever come until today. Can I unwrap it? It's for you. Really. If a man had come, Vlastimil smirked, I would have given him the Becherovka. He shook the bottle in the cellophane, making it gurgle. But he didn't come, so I'll drink it myself. You're so kind, Vlastimil, Marie whispered, and he noticed for the first time how bitten her nails were, with hangnails underneath. No one has ever been this nice to me. Not even your dad, I bet. She eagerly unwrapped the gift. Under the lid of the box was lingerie, a bra and panties, both made of see-through mesh with red cotton trim. She looked disappointed. Pretty, Vlastimil laughed. The trim could also be satin or silk or a shiny synthetic material. But I liked the seeming roughness of the cotton in contrast to the soft mesh. But you don't like it, do you? Yeah, I do, she sighed. What's wrong? I'm just imagining you here, like a spider waiting for some fly to get caught in your web. He pondered that for a moment, took a drink, and said, Do you know how many Christmases I've imagined someone being here with me? How much I wished for it. Every time since my wife died. And now you're here. You don't have to wear the lingerie. You don't have to wear it at all. Even so, this is my best Christmas in the last 5 years. Christmas? Marie snorted. She went to the window and lifted the curtain. Heat and light poured in. Somewhere under the window, a woman was shouting into her cell phone that the drugstore had closed right in front of her. You're free to leave, you know, Vlastimil continued. I'm not some kind of creep. And take the lingerie with you. I won't have another chance to give it away. But wasn't it originally meant for your wife? She asked. Because I couldn't do that. Wear something of hers. He shook his head. Honest to God. She passed away ages ago. Different styles were in back then, and anyway she was too old for something like this. Okay, hang on. This size might actually work. Definitely the panties. Can I top you off? Thank you. Well, I'll be. My guest is refilling my wine. Should I put on the TV? I don't want to ruin the evening. All right. I'm going to the bathroom to try these on. And don't come in after me. Got it? Don't worry. And if they don't fit, there's no show. Agreed. Vlastimil closed his eyes blissfully and sat motionless, with his glass in his hand. He stayed like that for maybe 5 minutes. He thought he was awake the whole time, but he had fallen asleep. Then Marie came back into the living room. What? He opened his eyes, startled. Good, he said weakly. Very nice. Youth is so beautiful on its own. You don't really even need the lingerie. Are you some kind of psychic, Vlastik? How did you guess my size? She was standing in front of him in see-through lingerie. The small bra was perfectly small. She could have worn a larger size, but her breasts wouldn't be spilling out of it that way, and her aroused nipples wouldn't be straining against the mesh so teasingly. The panties were the same. Smaller ones would have ripped, and larger ones would have been unnecessarily loose on her butt. Vlastimil shifted on the couch and waved his hand as if to say something, but the glass slipped from his fingers, and the wine spilled on the rug. Hold on, Marie said, grabbing napkins from the table and getting down on all fours to soak up the spill. Vlastimil covered his face with his hands and watched her through the gaps between his fingers. When his eyes started to burn, he closed them tightly. He didn't want her to hear him sobbing, so he choked it back. He saw nothing, heard nothing, just sat there. Then there was nothing more. She put on a Christmas Carol CD loudly, kissed him on the forehead, and changed back into her clothes in the bathroom. While he waited for her in the living room, still in the same position, he heard the apartment door click shut. He got up heavily and dragged himself to the hallway. The girl was gone. The cabinet with the Chinese figurines gaped open. The glass wasn't broken. He must have forgotten to lock it. He stared at the empty shelves where his wife's figurines had sat for years, wondering how Marie could have carried them out. He peeked into the bathroom. Towels, soap, toothpaste, cleaning supplies were all in their usual places. Only the lingerie was hanging on the line above the bathtub, and in the corner where the mop, rag, and blue bucket used to be, only the mop remained. So she took them in the bucket, covered with the rag, he said to himself, chuckling. He took the lingerie in his hands and held it to his nose. He returned to the hallway, examined the cabinet again, and noticed that on the second shelf from the bottom sat a 10-centimeter tall Buddha. That was the only thing she had left him. He put the panties and bra in the dresser drawer. He put on light corduroy pants, a collared t-shirt, and a summer jacket, and slipped on loafers he'd bought from a pretty Vietnamese woman. He headed out for a walk in Stromovka Park. The sun wouldn't set for a long time yet. Girls in impossibly short shorts would be zooming around on those strange rollerblades with 4 wheels in a row. Definitely today. He shook his head at that. How could he have thought it was Christmas? And where are we all rushing off to? Where are we all going? We're going where the star shines. There, where the star shines. There, where the star shines above the hypermarket. See lion, earl, duckling, lizard, centipede, and little hippo. I've lost my shopping basket. Mole, bison, rabbit, and all those creatures of God are now shopping for goods.